Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Former President Trump's classified documents trial postponed indefinitely. A judge reveals she has 8 motions to rule on, including what she said are extensive discovery issues.
Police scuffle with protesters at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. Mayor Eric Adams offers his own money to catch vandals who desecrated a war monument. The latest on the anti-Israel protests.
House Republicans seeking to root out anti-Semitism in K-12 schools. The Education Committee set to grill administrators in schools from New York to Berkeley, California. How pervasive is this hatred there? A lawyer's answer.
Trees snapped like twigs, mangled mobile homes, and wrecked vehicles. Midwest twisters continue to wreak havoc.
The U.S. revokes licenses for companies sending microchips to sanctioned Chinese companies like Huawei. This amidst rising fears of Chinese espionage. That and more with the host of Business Matters.
TikTok is slapping the U.S. government with a lawsuit. That's as its Chinese owner battles to keep control of the app and access to its 170 million American users.
And NTD wins an award for Best Screenplay at the 15th Annual LA Webfest in Hollywood. NTD's Ruby Lavelle was at the event.
This is NTD Good Morning. Live from our global headquarters, here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
Welcome to NTD.
Good morning again. Today is Wednesday, May 8th. Today's top news: severe storms continue to barrel through the Midwest.
Forecasters warned the curtain of heavy rain, gusty winds, and tornadoes could spill out of the region.
Several twisters swept across southern Michigan yesterday, leaving behind a trail of destruction in this mobile home park.
A FedEx facility in Michigan was also damaged. A jumble of twisted metal and mangled vehicles can be seen in the storm's wake.
Now, this video from inside an office building is showing massive debris swirling outside the window.
The Michigan twisters snapped trees like twigs, scattered debris, and damaged homes. Well, and thankfully, FedEx said that no one was injured at that facility.
Good, good. That looks intense. Everybody, please be careful, especially if that weather system should spill over.
Yes, absolutely. And the public info officer in Kalamazoo said that there were 15 to 20 people who were injured in that severe weather there in Michigan.
Right. Keeping that in mind, but we're moving on to politics now. Former President Trump's ongoing legal battles. A judge in the classified documents case has set new deadlines with new pretrial dates in July.
Judge Eileen Cannon did not set a new trial date. She said it would be premature with so many issues to still be resolved.
The judge revealed yesterday there are 8 motions to rule on, with 2 not publicly docketed. She also says that there are extensive discovery issues. She told both parties to submit an update on discovery at the end of the month.
Judge Cannon also scheduled several major hearings, including one on a motion to dismiss charges. She set a hearing for mid-June on whether Special Counsel Jack Smith's appointment was lawful.
The judge set a July 22nd status conference. She will likely set a trial date after that.
Federal prosecutors have charged Trump with 40 counts for allegedly mishandling classified information. Trump has pleaded not guilty.
Former President Trump in court for another day of testimony. The judge denying his request for a mistrial after Stormy Daniels took the stand.
The defense says her testimony was different from the story she told in 2016. Our legal correspondent Arlene Richards has more.
A key witness for the prosecution takes the stand on Tuesday. Stormy Daniels, also known as Stephanie Clifford, is the former adult film actress who says she had an affair with former President Trump. But her testimony about the affair, says the defense, is different from the 2016 story Trump is accused of buying. After the lunch break, Trump's attorneys asked for a mistrial, which the judge denied. The defense said she testified today about consent, about danger, and that's not the story she was peddling. The defense also said Daniels' testimony was highly prejudicial because it had nothing to do with the charges. Her testimony helps the prosecution show Trump had a desire to keep her quiet before the 2016 election. The prosecution said the story was not new. Prosecutor Susan Hoffinger saying, "At the end of the day, Your Honor, this is what the defendant was trying to hide in terms of the payoff in 2016 before the election." Judge Juan Merchan ultimately denied the call for a mistrial, acknowledging the testimony had problems, saying, "As a threshold matter, I agree, Mr. Blanche, that there were some things that probably would have been better left unsaid," but then admonishing the defense for not objecting enough. Daniels recounted how she first met Trump and said he later asked her out to dinner. The alleged affair, she says, happened after the dinner in Trump's penthouse suite at a hotel. Daniels began to provide intimate details of the encounter, but she stopped after the defense objected. She says she kept in touch with Trump afterwards because she wanted to get on his TV program, The Apprentice. As for that $130,000 hush money payment, Daniels testified that her publicist told her they should sell the story about the affair when she found out Trump was running for president. According to Daniels, she didn't care about the money at first. She just wanted to get the story out. But then she had a change of heart. On cross-examination, the defense questioned Daniels about tweets she posted about Trump going to jail and a defamation case she filed against Trump that was dismissed. Daniels' demeanor changed from relaxed to tense after the defense started questioning her. She testified that she hated Trump and that she wanted him to be held accountable, including going to jail if he is found guilty. Reporting from the criminal courthouse in Manhattan, Arlene Richards.
And here to give a quick comment on the classified documents case being postponed, and then to unpack adult actress Stormy Daniels' testimony in former President Trump's so-called hush money trial, is Paul Kamenar, the lead counsel at the National Legal and Policy Center. A lot to unpack here. Paul, thanks for being with us. Is Judge Cannon being responsible to all parties involved by indefinitely postponing Trump's classified documents trial?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of questions here with the government's mishandling of the classified documents. We've now learned that the documents are out of the order in the various boxes than they were originally found. So it looks like the government has been, tampering with those documents, moving them out, moving them in. And that's very important because some of these boxes did not have classified documents in, and the defense has to know exactly how these classified documents were being held and how they were handled. So she's right to postpone it. Plus, she has other motions pending before her. So there's no way that the trial could have started May 20th as it was originally scheduled. But we'll know towards the end of July whether she'll set a new trial date. And I doubt it'll be before the election.
And Paul, on the other hand, former White House Attorney Ty Cobb says that this judge had months to handle all these motions, and it just suggests that she has no intent to bring this to trial here. Let's move on to Trump's ongoing trial in New York. Trump's legal team had called for Judge Merchan to declare a mistrial, saying that Daniels' testimony has nothing to do with the case and is prejudicial, meaning that it's damaging to either Trump or the trial. Merchan has rejected that request. Is that the right decision?
I don't think it is, but they're preserving that issue on appeal. And I think they have good grounds that if he is convicted, they will appeal it. But the whole thing was Stormy Daniels' testimony. In fact, this whole case has, there's no law being violated. The government's theory is that this money paid to Stormy Daniels affected Trump's campaign. Well, under election law, Trump can give as much money as he wants to his campaign, either direct money or what's called in-kind contributions, whether it's computer software or phones or what have you. So all this is really based on a myth that there's something illegal going on with this payment that he made to Stormy Daniels, which he denies, but nevertheless, there's no there.
I hear what you're saying, Paul, and defense attorney Todd Blanche was saying that that kind of testimony is one that you just can't come back from, whereas prosecutors were explaining that that was necessary to tell the why of the whole payment for the hush money there. Defense attorneys are trying to undermine Daniels' credibility, and they're trying to show that she was trying to get a payment for her story, highlighting how her account of the events changed over the years. Is that an effective strategy?
Well, it is in one respect that they're trying to show that there's holes in her story, that there's conflicting statements she's made, and therefore the jury will see her as not being credible. But again, I go back to my original point that it doesn't make any difference what she says, because even if she's correct, there's still no underlying campaign law violation here. So the whole thing is, excuse the pun, it's a trumped up charges that they're bringing against Donald Trump. It's incredible.
Well, Paul Kamenar, the lead counsel at the National Legal and Policy Center, wish we had more time, but that wraps it up for today. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Anti-Israel protests continue across the U.S., with flare-ups occurring in New York, Washington, D.C., and California. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more, including a special offer by New York City Mayor Eric Adams in the name of his 19-year-old uncle who was killed in Vietnam.
Police scuffled with protesters at the Fashion Institute of Technology on Tuesday.
5, 6, 7, 8.
One man who claimed to be a freelance journalist is arrested by police. He complains that they are removing his press badge. More protesters are arrested here at Manhattan's Union Square. Mayor Eric Adams spoke at the site of a World War I monument that was vandalized by anti-Israel protesters on Monday night.
We cannot remain silent when our symbols of freedom are desecrated by individuals who clearly hate our country and hate our way of life.
Adams called the perpetrators cowards and promised to make them pay.
Today, I'm announcing $5,000 of my personal money for the arrest and conviction of the people responsible for this act.
Adams is offering the money in the name of his 19-year-old Uncle Joe, who died in Vietnam. Crime Stoppers is offering a $10,000 reward on top of that. 3 people were arrested after a driver hit an anti-Israel protester on a Manhattan street Tuesday. 2 protesters got into an argument with the driver, who then allegedly crashed into one of them. The demonstrator was treated at a hospital for minor injuries. The driver, the demonstrator, and another demonstrator were taken into custody. Columbia Law School Dean Gillian Lester voiced support for graduates Tuesday after conservative judges announced they wouldn't hire them due to recent anti-Israel protests. Lester says Columbia law grads are highly sought after by top employers, including the judiciary. This comes in response to a letter from 13 conservative federal judges stating they would cease hiring graduates from Columbia starting this year to help restore academic freedom to the institution. In Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, a large group of anti-Israel demonstrators marched towards the residence of George Washington University President Ellen Granberg. Here they accuse Granberg of supporting genocide, seen on Fox News. Over in California, demonstrators at the University of California, Berkeley, protested Israel's recent decision to reject a ceasefire with Hamas. Israel says the proposal approved by Hamas was unacceptable because terms had been softened. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
President Biden doubling down on support for Israel and condemning anti-Semitism. That's despite his opposition to Israel's Rafah operation and political pressure from young voters.
NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more on Biden's speech yesterday at the Day of Remembrance ceremony.
It's perhaps one of the strongest condemnations that President Biden has given to date regarding what he called a ferocious surge in anti-Semitism. Speaking at a Holocaust remembrance ceremony inside the Capitol, President Biden called out those who he said seem to have forgotten what happened on October 7th.
Over 1,200 innocent people, babies, parents, grandparents, slaughtered in their kibbutz. But just 7.5 months later, and people are already forgetting. They're already forgetting.
And to counter anti-Semitism on college campuses, the Biden administration on Tuesday sent out a letter to every college in the nation, giving them examples of anti-Semitism that could lead to federal investigations. And regarding college protests, President Biden again reiterating the right to free speech while also noting that some protesters have crossed the line. Watch.
To protest peacefully and make our voices heard. I understand that's America, but there is no place on any campus in America, any place in America, for anti-Semitism or hate speech or threats of violence of any kind.
And as an Israeli operation in Rafah looms, President Biden says his support for Israel remains ironclad,
even when we disagree.
Former President Trump, meanwhile, on Tuesday again blamed the protest on President Biden, saying the country is on fire.
There are protests all over the country. I've never seen anything like this. And we have a president that just refuses to talk because he can't talk.
And Biden's campaign says President Biden stands against anti-Semitism while Trump does not. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Israeli authorities say they've reopened the Kerem Shalom border crossing into Gaza for humanitarian aid.
The aid crossing was closed Sunday after Hamas rocket attack killed 4 Israeli soldiers.
Israeli tanks and special forces seized the Gazan side of the nearby Rafah crossing yesterday. The border crossing with Egypt is still closed. The IDF says rockets were fired from the Rafah area toward Kerem Shalom and southern Israel yesterday. The smaller Erez crossing between Israel and northern Gaza remains open.
The U.S. Defense Department says the construction of a temporary pier for humanitarian aid is now complete. The Pentagon says it hasn't anchored the pier ashore in Gaza yet because of weather.
Israel's military has ordered the evacuation of 100,000 Palestinian civilians from Rafah as it carries out targeted strikes against Hamas. The U.S. says Israel isn't beginning the ground operation in Rafah, but dealing with terrorist use of the crossing. NTD's Jack Bradley has more from the State Department.
And so it is a legitimate goal to try to shut off and choke off that revenue stream to Hamas. That said, we want to see Rafah open, and so someone needs to be on the Gaza side of Rafah to run that side of the crossing.
U.S. officials describe Israel's seizure of the Rafah crossing as a limited rather than full-scale operation. And it's not the beginning of a ground offensive, something the U.S. says it wouldn't support.
The kind of military operation that would follow such an evacuation is one that we can support because of the dramatic impact it would have on the civilian population there and the ability to get humanitarian assistance in and deliver to those people.
Hamas responded to a ceasefire proposal by Egypt and Qatar on Monday with a counter-proposal which had amendments that were unacceptable to Israel, one of which was over whether the 33 hostages to be released in the first phase would be living or dead. Hamas said they could include dead bodies, while Israel demands living hostages. CIA Director William Burns is in Cairo along with Israeli delegates talking about hostage negotiations and a ceasefire deal. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Jack Bradley, NTD News.
Up next, in efforts to tackle anti-Semitism in schools, first it was on college campuses, but now in K-12 schools. House Republicans line up some administrators for questioning at the Capitol.
How pervasive is anti-Semitism at these schools, ranging from New York to Maryland to California? And are efforts to root out this hatred by Congress alone enough? Stay tuned for the response from a human rights lawyer.
TikTok's parent company is suing the U.S. government over the ultimatum to sell the app, but the Chinese company is arguing after the break.
More than just beautiful dance. It's a touch of the divine. More than just legends. It's the beautiful culture and wisdom of China before communism. More than just a performance. It's an experience that awakens the soul.
Lincoln Center, NJ Pack, State Theater, Purchase, and Stamford. Starting March 28th. Tickets at genuine.com.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit. And now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Good to have you back, everyone. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona coming under fire on Capitol Hill. That's over his handling of rising anti-Israel sentiment on college campuses and the massive delay in this year's financial aid applications. NTD's Sam Wong has the details.
On Tuesday, Education Secretary Miguel Cardona testified before the House Committee on Education and the Workforce. As anti-Israel unrest continues to take over America's universities, some lawmakers are calling on Cardona to step down.
From the beginning, I've urged a firm hand in dealing with the explosion of anti-Semitism on campus. With the outbreak of campus riots, I'm only more resolute, so I will say it again. You must resign.
Republicans have long voiced concern over the Biden administration's student loan forgiveness policies. Some say it's forcing people without college degrees to cover tuition costs for others.
Do you think we should continue to make student loans when you and the administration are trying to transfer all the debt to the taxpayers with the latest scheme that's been estimated to be going to cost maybe even $750 billion?
This year, college-bound students in the U.S. are seeing an unprecedented delay in their financial aid applications. The issue stems from a slow rollout in the new FAFSA form, which students must fill out to qualify for loans and grants.
It's 100% in my district. No student can complete the FAFSA application. Could I please have your commitment that this will be resolved before the next school year?
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's it.
Most American colleges require students to decide by May 1st on whether they're enrolling in the fall semester. But the FAFSA holdup has prompted many students to either change plans or pay their tuition in full. According to the Education Department, roughly 4.7 million families applied for federal financial aid by late February. That's nearly a 40% drop compared to the previous year. Sam Wong, NTD News.
Joining me now to discuss efforts by lawmakers to root out anti-Semitism is Gerard Felitti, a civil and human rights attorney who is a senior counsel at the Lawfare Project. Very serious topic here, Gerard. Thanks for being here. How prevalent is anti-Semitism in K through 12 schools in New York, Berkeley, and Montgomery, Maryland? And why have Republicans set their sights at rooting out this type of hatred out there?
Unfortunately, anti-Semitism in K-12 has become very prevalent and very common in New York City, Montgomery County, Berkeley, and across America. We have teachers and students who are taking active part in conduct that is targeting Jewish students, making them feel uncomfortable, presenting a hostile environment that's discriminatory, and nothing is being done about that. In New York City, for example, some schools saw students and teachers chanting "Kill the Jews" as they marched through the hallways, and New York City Schools Chancellor David Banks did absolutely nothing to address this. In 7 months since October 7, not a single thing has been done to address this. This is why Republicans have taken up this issue in Congress, and this is why they're looking for answers and a plan to deal with it.
Gerard, and it's not just Congress, it's also the Department of Education that is looking into this alleged anti-Semitism there as well. And while anti-Semitism is absolutely reprehensible, at the same time, Muslim groups are speaking out, saying that some of these schools are hostile to their views, saying that they've cut out Palestinian history. Now let's move on here. The hearing is set to focus on the political speech of teachers. Where is the line between free speech and this hatred-filled form of indoctrination, and do you have any specific examples for us?
Well, we do have an example that actually comes from a letter guidance that the Office of Civil Rights at the Department of Education put out yesterday. It goes from speech to conduct when a teacher, for example, singles out Jewish students to treat them differently in the classroom. And we see this, for example, when teachers make a Jewish student stand up and explain their position on Israel-Palestine or why Israel should be condemned for human rights violations when that's not asked of any other student. And we do see this in classrooms. We see this type of behavior being very common. But there's a difference between political speech and conduct. There's the difference between protected speech and the things that intimidate students, that bully them. You can't, for example, make a student feel that he will be receiving a lower grade or be singled out and punished because of their identity. That's discriminatory. That's what's happening in some of these schools. But these teachers are not being disciplined. There's no guidance given on how to deal with this by the school districts, so this problem continues. And ultimately, these students we see in college what happens. We see the encampments and the violence targeting Jews and other students. This is why it needs to be addressed at the K-12 level.
I hear exactly what you're saying there, Gerard. These walkouts are also one thing that lawmakers are going to focus on. There's pro-Palestinian walkouts and also these lessons that include harsh critiques of Israel here. Can Congress alone solve this problem? And if not, what more needs to be done?
Congress does have significant power because it has the power of the purse. It can cut funding to colleges, to K-12, to any place that engages in discriminatory conduct based on Jewish identity, and any other discriminatory conduct for that matter. And that money is crucial. Schools can't operate without that funding. Congress has a lot it can do, and perhaps the only way it can act, and quickly, is to cut that funding to make students feel safe, because schools will now be forced to implement policies and take action, to impose consequences on bigotry, because otherwise they're not receiving federal funds. So that is the ultimate power that Congress has, and that needs to act on.
Gerard, can you offer any insight as to why it would be in schools, be that from kindergarten to college campuses, that we're seeing anti-Semitism serve as a flashpoint here?
Anti-Semitism is systemic. It's always existed. It's always been under the surface. And unfortunately, in the last 10 to 20 years, it's become worse. We have professors in college campuses and foreign countries that provide teacher training programs. So teachers in K-12 go to teacher training programs at colleges and at other locations, funded by governments like Qatar, that provide indoctrination about anti-Israel and anti-Jewish sentiment. These teachers go back to their classrooms and they teach this. They share this curriculum. It grows. It's a movement. It's a discriminatory movement. This is what we've been seeing. This is the spread of anti-Semitism in K-12 that really starts being fomented by foreign governments.
And thank you so much for weighing in this morning, Gerard Felitti.
Thank you.
TikTok taking the U.S. government to court. That's as its Chinese owner battles to keep its access to millions of Americans' minds and attention spans. Here are the details.
TikTok sued the U.S. government on Tuesday. Its Chinese owner is fighting to keep control of the app. This comes after President Biden signed a law that would get TikTok removed from U.S. app stores unless it finds a non-Chinese owner by next January. TikTok alleged the law violates the First Amendment, saying it's not feasible to sell its U.S. operations. It also argues that China doesn't allow the app to sell its algorithm, which pushes content to users. For the U.S., the main goal is to rid the app of its Chinese control and ownership.
We're not wanting to kill TikTok. You in the U.S. who like it, you can use it. We're just going to get the nefarious hand of the Chinese Communist Party out of our open media system.
TikTok is one of a few Chinese apps that have seen blockbuster success in the U.S. TikTok content wields significant influence over Americans. The app has 170 million U.S. users and became a top news source for Gen Z Americans. What's more, it's a source of livelihood for some U.S. content creators. Even the Biden campaign joined the platform to reach young voters.
Game or commercials?
Game.
Game or halftime show?
Game.
But lawmakers have been concerned that Beijing could use TikTok to spy on Americans and sway U.S. public opinion. The legal fight is set to play out in court over the next few months. The case could end up in the Supreme Court.
Coming up, San Diego County surpasses all other sectors in April encounters with illegal immigrants. A California mayor shares what he has seen when we return.
A House panel accuses the Biden administration of using taxpayer money to favor President Biden's campaign in a battleground state. Lawmakers subpoena 2 administration officials over a deal made in Michigan.
The tempting online world is encroaching on our campus. Is unplugging cables and confiscating phones the solution to protect our children? No, we just need a clean multimedia platform. Join Ganjing Campus to leverage premium channel features, professional development courses, and kindness event toolkits tailored for teachers. Build a truly positive and interactive classroom community. Foster a pure and delightful learning environment for children.
23 سال 16 سال عمري ما هفت
ما داعش کردیم برانبر خوشکو دایکانی ازدی ما کاری که دور لهمو چمک دموکراسی و موافقانی مرو و انسانیت او بارو خی که است های به تایبت ایران خوشکوریا بشه که دگرت و با حالانه که اداره اوباما کرد
ریم بو او هفت روز من بو و داعش ذکرت تامبوم كرا قوتينيز قريا بما متشكر بهر فيدان نبو باوان رحم نبو ودمنا سؤالان من خادران نزل باوان نفستم بس منا قوبس ناش بجوش باش.
They would literally be auctioned in front of soldiers, and then the soldiers begin to bid.
زارود وان همو جيبري تي حملي زارود الدم واسسيبان همو جيبري
وحشیگریه که توا عیاره ظلمی که یک جار زور گوره لما افرطانه کرا و تعدایی که زور زوریان لیده که همانه روزانه دست فروشیده.
اليوم التوزيع
Imagine being a child, having a child mentality, and these evil people come and wheel you away from the only safety you've ever known.
The glory of piano masterpieces from the Baroque, Classical, and Romantic periods. New Tang Dynasty Television invites you to join the 2024 NTD International Piano Competition. Together, we preserve and revitalize the art of authentic classical piano music. October 14th to the 19th at the Kaufman Music Center in New York City. Apply now at piano.ntdtv.com.
Welcome back. For the first time in decades, San Diego County, California has emerged as the primary region along the southern border for encounters with illegal immigrants.
NTD's Cristina Corona spoke with the mayor of El Cajon, California.
San Diego County has now surpassed all other areas in border encounters for the first time in 25 years. In April alone, there were 37,370 encounters, surpassing Tucson with 31,240, El Paso with 30,410, and Del Rio with 10,275. El Cajon Mayor Bill Wells discusses why he believes San Diego leads in border encounters.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that California is a sanctuary state and that we welcome immigrants and illegal aliens with open arms. We don't ask a lot of questions and we don't do any kind of enforcement here at all.
He says Texas toughens their stance on illegal immigration using razor wire and tactics to deter entry.
I think the cartels who really run the whole show here, they're looking for the path of least resistance, and they're choosing California.
He adds, since October 1st, the San Diego sector has witnessed a total of 214,855 apprehensions, highlighting a significant challenge the region faces. Since September, over 140,000 individuals have been released into the streets of San Diego County. With hundreds of thousands of people, Mayor Wells states it's not what he expected.
What we didn't quite understand was that the NGOs that are making billions of dollars off of this process, they've been pretty efficient at getting people off the buses and then over to the airport or down to the Greyhound station to be shipped off to other parts of the country.
Recently, Mayor Wells witnessed firsthand dozens of Chinese nationals on a remote dirt road, waiting for Border Patrol to process them. Mayor Wells, who is currently running for Congress in San Diego, emphasizes the need for GOP control of the House, Senate, and White House to address the border crisis. Cristina Corona, NTD News.
A House panel is accusing the Biden administration of using taxpayer money to help President Biden win a key battleground state. The House Committee on Small Business sent subpoenas to 2 administration officials yesterday. The committee is investigating the Small Business Administration, or SBA, and a first-of-its-kind voter registration agreement in Michigan. The GOP-led House panel says the deal with Michigan's Department of State could favor Democrats over Republicans. The deal made in March has Michigan officials collaborate with the SBA to drive online visitors to register to vote. It also lets Michigan officials use the SBA's Michigan field office for in-person voter registration. The SBA is also encouraging voter registration nationwide.
New York's ballot will have one less item on it. A judge rules a proposed amendment banning discrimination based on gender identity and pregnancy outcomes won't make it to November. The judge says legislators made a procedural error in the approval process. The Tuesday decision removes a politically charged question from the November ballot. Democrats passed the proposed constitutional amendment last year. It wouldn't explicitly preserve a woman's access to abortion, but it would effectively prevent someone from being discriminated against for having the procedure. Backers say it would have the practical effect of ensuring abortion access. The ruling is a blow to some Democrats, though, who wanted to spur voter turnout by framing key battleground House races around abortion access. New York Attorney General Letitia James said her office would appeal the decision. And the last missing body of a construction worker killed in the Baltimore bridge collapse has been recovered. Salvage divers found the body of Jose Minor Lopez yesterday at the scene of the bridge collapse. The recovery comes more than a month after a cargo ship crashed into the bridge. The collapse that followed sent 8 construction workers into the Patapsco River, killing 6 of them. All victims were Latino immigrants working an overnight shift, filling potholes on the bridge. Police were able to stop traffic moments before the collapse, but they didn't have enough time to alert the workers.
And looking at the results from Indiana's primaries, Senator Mike Braun wins the Republican nomination in the governor's race. Democratic nominee Jennifer McCormick was unopposed.
Braun chose to run for the open governor's seat instead of a second term in the Senate. He beat 5 GOP contenders looking to replace Republican Governor Eric Holcomb.
Congresswoman Victoria Spartz will run to serve another term after defeating several GOP challengers. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more Indiana primary results.
We have the false choice.
Indiana Representative Victoria Spartz is projected to win the GOP primary for her 5th district seat. The Ukrainian-born Congresswoman first won the seat in 2020. Spartz faced 8 challengers Tuesday night after deciding to seek re-election. Competition included State Representative Chuck Goodrich, a businessman who outspent Spartz. Spartz was an early advocate for U.S. support for Ukraine, but she voted against the $95 billion foreign aid package with $61 billion for Ukraine last month. Goodrich aired television ads accusing Spartz of putting Ukraine first. Democratic nominee Deborah Pickett will challenge Spartz for her seat. Meanwhile, in the race for Indiana's next governor, Senator Mike Braun bested 5 GOP competitors to win the Republican primary, including incumbent Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. Braun is seeking to replace term-limited Republican Governor Eric Holcomb. Indiana has had a Republican governor since 2004. Braun will face Democratic nominee Jennifer McCormick in the November general election. McCormick, a former Republican, changed parties in 2021. Libertarian nominee Donald Rainwater and Independent Christopher Street have also thrown their hats in the ring. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Conservatives across the U.S. are pushing to outlaw private money from elections. Can that cash flow influence the outcome? What does history tell us about this? And are there forces operating in the shadows surrounding this? Here's Hans von Spakovsky, a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation, with some answers.
Well, this had never happened before the 2020 election. And that was when Mark Zuckerberg gave $400 million to a small NGO, a small nonprofit, and 2 other liberal donors, I think, gave about $50 million. And they started giving grants to election offices, mostly in large urban cities, places like Philadelphia. And the whole idea here was to move the Get Out the Vote campaign that candidates and parties usually pay for into election offices to benefit, frankly, one political party.
What about non-governmental organizations? They seem to be immune to these FOIA requests, and does that allow them to operate in the shadows in regards to this?
It does. You know, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act laws only apply to government entities. So if you want to find out what are these nonprofits, like the one that Mark Zuckerberg gave all his money to, what they're doing, that's difficult to find out. The only way you can do that is if they are engaging in communications with a government agency. Yeah, then you can serve a FOIA request on the government agency and ask for the communications with the nonprofit. But the nonprofit itself, the laws don't apply to them.
We have the Electoral College in this country, and sometimes swing states decide elections, and that could come down to certain counties playing a huge role within that state. So how much of an impact can this private funding have?
Well, there's been some very interesting analyses done of the effect it had in the 2020 election. And it's very clear when you look at that and all of the money that went into, again, large urban districts, areas that are strongholds for Democratic voters, that it apparently increased turnout in those Democratic areas in comparison to other parts of the same states, more rural areas, more Republican areas.
So what solution needs to be brought in here to make sure that American elections are secure?
Well, the biggest thing that needs to happen is every state should ban this kind of private funding of election offices. It raises tremendous conflicts of interest. And frankly, Congress should pass a similar ban that applies to federal elections, that doesn't allow private donors to give money to those election officials who are administering federal elections. That's really the solution to this.
Well, thank you for your time this morning, Hans von Spakovsky, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up, the U.S. revokes licenses for some companies sending microchips to sanctioned Chinese firms like Huawei. That and more with the host of Business Matters.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation, but she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, you know, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic. So I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. One in 3 adults has prediabetes, and you could be one of them. There are usually no signs for prediabetes, so it's important to understand your risk. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Thanks for staying with us. We have NTD's Business Matters host Don Ma with us right now to give us the latest updates from the financial world.
Don, let's talk telecom.
Yep, let's talk about it indeed. So the U.S. on Tuesday, it revoked some licenses that potentially allowed some companies here to ship goods such as chips to sanction actually Chinese telecom communications equipment maker Huawei Technologies. So it's very important here, it seems like at least. The move comes after the release last month of Huawei's first AI-enabled laptop. It was the Mate Pro X, powered by Intel's new Core Ultra 9 processor. So the laptop launch drew criticism from Republican lawmakers. They suggested to the Commerce Department that it had given Intel to give the green light to actually sell the chip to Huawei. So the revocations came after a years-long review of the U.S. policy on what goods and technology could be shipped to Huawei, which, by the way, is a flagship Chinese company viewed as a national security threat. So they could hamper Huawei's recently resurgent revenue a little bit here, and also hurt U.S. suppliers that have been allowed to do business with the company. And the company was in fact placed on a U.S. trade restrictions list in 2019, and that was amid fears that it could spy on Americans here. And it's part of a broader effort to handicap China's ability to boost its military as well.
Right. So we're seeing more effort to curb China's tech power I think we're getting there, maybe, with more national security efforts. Let's talk about the housing market, though. How do renters feel about their prospects right now of being able to buy a home?
Well, it appears that a lot of them and how they feel about the prospects of buying a home is not very good, because a new survey has found that fewer than half of renters actually think that they will be able to buy a home in the future. So the rate here is actually around 40%. So this is the lowest number since the Federal Reserve Bank of New York started its survey 10 years ago. So sky-high real estate prices coupled with high mortgage rates, putting home ownership out of reach for many people here. So the most pessimistic in the Northeast, there only 26% of renters think they can buy a home. That's down from 51%, down a lot in just 1 year.
Well, yeah, these high interest rates are one thing, but some Americans are saying that the houses are just not worth the price. Like with these new builds in their area, just being put together with just plywood, staples, glue, and plastic. Let's move on. Stewart Health is putting its hospitals up for sale. What's the situation there?
Yeah, so it's bankrupt because it filed for Chapter 11 recently. So Stewart Healthcare is putting all of its 31 U.S. hospitals for sale. It hopes to finalize transactions by the end of summer to address its $9 billion in total liabilities. And this is according to company's attorneys who spoke at a court hearing in Houston yesterday. Stewart does hope to keep all of its hospitals open over the long term. Despite the sale, there's going to be a change in ownership for many of those hospitals here. In court documents, Stewart had said it had over $9 billion in total liabilities, including a lot of things here. Let me just mention some of them. $1.2 billion in loans, $6.6 billion in long-term rent obligations, nearly $1 billion in unpaid bills from medical vendors and suppliers, $290 million in unpaid wages and benefits to employees here. So at yesterday's hearing, the judge allowed Stewart to borrow another $75 million from Medical Properties Trust. Stewart intends to hold auctions on June 28th for its hospitals outside of Florida and July 30th for its 9 hospitals inside Florida. Right. That's the situation.
Wow, right. I mean, the management has been criticized in the past for some really short-sighted financial decisions they have made, but maybe we can see it from a good news perspective for the patients, because it could potentially be a big deal for hospitals to close, especially if you're in a rural area. So a little bit of both sides here. Thank you so much, host of Business Matters, Don Ma.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Stay with us. Some fun stuff coming up. NTD wins an award for Best Screenplay at the 15th Annual LA Webfest in Hollywood. NTD's Ruby Lavelle was at the event.
The shining gem of New England. This delightful seaside city of Newport is one of the most beautiful places in the state. Today, we bring you here as we meet with our friends and fellow musicians from the Hermitage Piano Trio. As a team, they have garnered multiple Grammy Award nominations with their breathtaking performances.
Oh, wow, I did not think this instrument can make that sound, right?
The pandemic made this reunion even more special.
3 of us, we like it because we feel music the same way, so...
Don't miss us on the next episode of Piano Talks.
Are you ready to help your family get prepared for the unexpected?
Everyone in? Here we go!
Ladybug and Cat Noir know how important it is to be ready. Because you never know when Hawkmoth is going to strike, or a disaster will hit.
Go, Rose!
And you don't need miraculous powers. Just put those planning skills you already have to good use. Know who to call, decide on a safe meeting location, and create an emergency preparedness kit. Make a plan that will help you and your family be ready when emergencies happen. Ready Kids can help.
I'm coming to save you!
Get started at ready.gov/kids.
When I drink it, the first thing was I feel the warmth in my tummy. It's kind of like gently radiating out, a kind of a very comforting warmth. And it was really good, actually. I felt much better. I did feel actually an effect, and I find that it is actually better when I take it regularly.
It's actually steamed and dried 9 times, and so it's really, the essence is really extracted.
Then the second time I tried it really like on an empty stomach and just 2 teaspoons of it, and over a few times. And wow, there was a big difference, because suddenly I could feel, wow, I was very good energized. I didn't have to eat. I could work outside in the garden for a couple of hours, and I still felt very well. And I was impressed by that. So I think it's a good product.
Welcome back. An NTD original series just took home a prize at the 15th annual LA Webfest.
The TV drama series Dream of the Zelenskyy Tree won the award for Best Screenplay over the weekend. NTD's Ruby Lavelle was at the festival. Let's take a look.
I'm at the 15th annual LA Webfest Festival that focuses and showcases amazing, explosive new talent in the web series format. There are various categories for Best Short Film, TV series, web series, pilots, podcasts, they're all recognized. This festival has the best of international talent. Started in 2009 as the first ever festival, this has now grown to one of the biggest film festivals, celebrating and supporting and nurturing new talent.
This is like a new media, a new wave style of a film festival. We are discover talent, like creator, also actor, actress, producer, independent, right, filmmakers. And then, we're going to celebrate many things. And then we're going to give out a lot of awards tonight, about 40 categories.
So I'm here with Wendy and her daughter Alexa. Congratulations, you're nominated for Best Actress for Luna the Witch.
It's a web series. We have 3 seasons so far. It's like a family-friendly sci-fi fantasy about, I play a witch who's not very good at being a witch, and she accidentally blows up the boy that she liked.
James Pax, how are you?
Thank you, I'm flattered, yes. Very well, very well.
You have had a very accomplished career. Big Trouble in Little China, we all love that movie. Tell us about what brought you into that entertainment industry, and what is your passion for it?
Well, the passion started when I was very young. And then in the early 90s, I decided to expand myself to Asia. Starting in Hong Kong, I did a movie with Michelle Yeoh, the Academy Award winner. We've been good friends for 30-something years.
We have 2 nominations, Best Drama Series, and I have a Best Supporting Actress nomination. It is a real-life drama series that centers on the stories of nurses, and it really shines a spotlight on what nurses go through on a day-to-day basis.
And the award for Best Screenplay goes to Dream of the Zelenskyy Tree.
꿈이 뭐였어? 꿈? 사진 작가가 되고 싶었어.
Thank you so much to the LA Webfest, also to the director who's done a fantastic job to nurture and support new explosive talent. I received this on behalf of our network, NTD TV, who could not be here. This is an NTD Korea production about a sweet story about a mother and her daughter and a relationship between them. Fantastic. We are so proud and so thankful for this award. Thank you, the cast and crew are very, very grateful, and I thank you very much for this.
Congratulations to NTD Original, NTD Korea Production for Dream of the Zelenskyy Tree. This is Best Screenplay for the whole of this amazing LA Webfest. This has been Ruby Lovell, NTD in Hollywood.
It is a very wholesome series. I suggest people should check it out if they have the time.
Yeah. Some time travel in that Dream of the Zelenskyy Tree, where a woman actually goes back in time and meets a younger version of her mother as she's maturing.
Wow. All right. I mean, that's such a beautiful idea, though, to get to know your mom, who she was before she gave all these things up for you, and all the dreams and ambitions she had before that.
Yeah, so, really paying it forward.
Yeah. All right, we are heading to a quick break now, and we'll be right back with more, so stay with us.
NTD News, the fastest growing independent news source in America, bringing you breaking news from around the world. Expert analysis, investigative reporting, and original award-winning documentaries. We're known for our uncensored China coverage you won't find anywhere else. We cover the stories that affect you and shape our world without the political noise. We report from the heart with you in mind. Watch us right here on NTD News.
Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Today's top stories. The Pentagon says a temporary pier in Gaza is ready to be put ashore, and Israel reopens a key aid crossing after seizing the Gazan side of the border with Egypt. The latest in the Israel-Hamas war.
Police scuffle with protesters at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, and Mayor Eric Adams offers his own money to catch vandals who desecrated a war monument.
Stormy Daniels takes the stand to testify in former President Donald Trump's hush money case. The latest analysis on the former president's legal situation.
Trees snapped like twigs, mangled mobile homes, and wrecked vehicles. Midwest twisters continue to wreak havoc.
A new trend is all the rage now at farms across the U.S. Find out why people pay good money to cuddle up with a cow.
The 2024 Olympic torch arrives in Marseille, France today. The city put on a spectacular display of fireworks and drones last night to celebrate its imminent arrival.
This is NTD Good Morning. Live from our global headquarters, here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Today is Wednesday, May 8th. Today's top news. Severe storms continue to barrel through the Midwest.
Forecasters warned the curtain of heavy rain, gusty winds, and tornadoes could spill out of the region.
Several twisters swept across southern Michigan yesterday, leaving behind a trail of destruction in this mobile home park. A
FedEx facility in Michigan was also damaged. A jumble of twisted metal and mangled vehicles can be seen in the storm's wake.
This video from inside an office building showing massive debris swirling outside the window.
The Michigan twisters snapped trees like twigs, scattering debris and damaging homes.
And over to Israel. Israeli authorities say they've reopened the Kerem Shalom border crossing into Gaza for humanitarian aid.
The aid crossing was closed Sunday after a Hamas rocket attack killed 4 Israeli soldiers.
Israeli tanks and special forces seized the Gazan side of the nearby Rafah crossing yesterday. The border crossing with Egypt is still closed. The IDF says rockets were fired from the Rafah area toward Kerem Shalom in southern Israel yesterday. The smaller Erez crossing between Israel and northern Gaza remains open.
The U.S. Defense Department says the construction of a temporary pier for humanitarian aid is now complete. The Pentagon says it hasn't anchored the pier ashore in Gaza yet because of weather.
Israel's military has ordered the evacuation of 100,000 Palestinian civilians from Rafah as it carries out targeted strikes against Hamas. Meanwhile, hostage and ceasefire talks in Egypt are back underway. CIA Director Bill Burns is expected to be in Israel to meet his counterpart.
Israel says the terrorist group's demands are far from what is necessary to reach a deal. The proposed deal includes withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip. Israel's defense minister says a military operation in Rafah will continue until Hamas is eliminated or until the first hostage returns.
For some analysis on the war now, we bring in Brent Sadler. He's a research fellow for naval warfare and advanced technology at the Center for National Defense. Good to have you. Good morning, Brent. So first, what do you think is behind the military operation now that is in Rafah? What would you say is the objective?
Well, the objective remains unchanged for the Israelis, and that's the destruction of Hamas as a functioning leadership or governing body in Gaza. That still is the objective. It hasn't changed, and it is necessary for them to meet that to go into the last bastion where there are 4 brigades out of 6 that still remain of Hamas's militant wing in Rafah.
Now, Biden is reportedly holding off with arms shipments. Could this have an effect on Israel and how it conducts the war moving forward? And I mean both in terms of maybe the diplomatic effects, but also in terms of resources available to them.
Yes, and it's actually troubling because it also impacts potential defensive measures on the northern border. Hezbollah has not been shy about intervening in this conflict since October 7th's attacks by Hamas, with launching raids and attacks, mortar and rocket attacks across Israel's northern border. So not providing the ammunition that Israel needs, not only to continue and bring to a conclusion this war with Hamas, but also should Hezbollah pick up the pace and actually press its incursions to the north. The munitions in question are 2,000-pound, dumb bombs that basically are just dropped from airplanes, but actually have what's called a JDAM. It's an application or a kit that's attached that in effect makes this dumb bomb into a more precision-capable weapon. And the concern in the White House is that could cause unacceptable levels of damage and potential civilian casualties in the packed quarters in Gaza. The reality is, without those weapons, it also detracts or basically limits Israel's deterrent capability along its northern border as well.
So you just mentioned that the objective remains the same. So what do you think will happen after Israel actually takes over Rafah, the last Hamas stronghold, so to speak? That's according to the IDF, what they repeated so many times. So any sense of what this could mean to the war?
Well, I think it really matters on how Israel handles the refugees, the ones that come out of Rafah as they launch this final offensive in Gaza. And by all accounts, they've been setting up tent camps and shelters nearby to basically take in these people. It's still going to be horrific. It's still going to have a lot of unfortunate civilian casualties to bring this war to a conclusion. The alternative is that it continues to be prolonged, the suffering prolonged on all sides, and Hamas, the terrorist organization there in Gaza, is able to reconstitute itself and repeat the attacks of October 7th. If that occurs, and if Israel's not effective in handling the refugees, political opinion will turn even harder against it, and it'll make it harder for Israel to continue or to resume the supply of needed munitions for the United States going forward, at least till election time here in November.
I see. Let's talk about the U.S. here. How does this war affect the U.S.? Because since the beginning, many have said that this could create more extremism. What are the security implications of this war in the U.S.?
Well, on the issue of domestic extremism, I think it is already here. You're seeing it play out on the streets and on college campuses with large groups of people supporting a known terrorist organization after barbarous attacks of October 7th. Rapes, systematic rapes for political, beheading of children. I mean, the list and the horrors go on. But yet you see this popular support and actually a lot of intimidation of American Jewish citizens at a lot of these same college campuses. So I would say it's already here. Our southern border remains an open channel through which who knows what has come through and has been in place. So the threat is very real. You've had the FBI director on several occasions testify to this fact up in Congress, and we don't know the extent. So this could be a trigger for an escalation here at home, of course.
Understood. Thank you so much, Brent Sadler, for your insights this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anti-Israel protests continue across the U.S. with flare-ups occurring in New York, Washington, D.C., and California. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more, including a special offer by New York City Mayor Eric Adams in the name of his 19-year-old uncle who was killed in Vietnam.
Police scuffled with protesters at the Fashion Institute of Technology on Tuesday.
5, 6, 7, 8.
One man who claimed to be a freelance journalist is arrested by police. He complains that they are removing his press badge. More protesters are arrested here at Manhattan's Union Square. Mayor Eric Adams spoke at the site of a World War I monument that was vandalized by anti-Israel protesters on Monday night.
We cannot remain silent
when our symbols of freedom are desecrated by individuals who clearly hate our country and hate our way of life.
Adams called the perpetrators cowards and promised to make them pay.
Today, I'm announcing $5,000 of my personal money for the arrest and conviction of the people responsible for this act.
Adams is offering the money in the name of his 19-year-old Uncle Joe, who died in Vietnam. Crime Stoppers is offering a $10,000 reward on top of that. 3 people were arrested after a driver hit an anti-Israel protester on a Manhattan street Tuesday. 2 protesters got into an argument with the driver, who then allegedly crashed into one of them. The demonstrator was treated at a hospital for minor injuries. The driver, the demonstrator, and another demonstrator were taken into custody. Columbia Law School Dean Gillian Lester voiced support for graduates Tuesday after conservative judges announced they wouldn't hire them due to recent anti-Israel protests. Lester says Columbia Law grads are highly sought after by top employers, including the judiciary. This comes in response to a letter from 13 conservative federal judges stating they would cease hiring graduates from Columbia starting this year to help restore academic freedom to the institution. In Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, a large group of anti-Israel demonstrators marched towards the residence of George Washington University President Ellen Granberg. Here they accuse Granberg of supporting genocide, seen on Fox News. Over in California, demonstrators at the University of California, Berkeley, protested Israel's recent decision to reject a ceasefire with Hamas. Israel says the proposal approved by Hamas was unacceptable because terms had been softened. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Moving on to former President Trump's ongoing legal battles, a judge in the classified documents case has set new deadlines with new pretrial dates in July.
Judge Eileen Cannon did not set a new trial date. She said it would be premature, with so many issues still to be resolved.
The judge revealed yesterday there are 8 motions to rule on, with 2 not publicly docketed. She also says there are extensive discovery issues. She told both parties to submit an update on discovery at the end of the month.
Judge Cannon also scheduled several major hearings, including one on a motion to dismiss charges. She set a hearing for mid-June on whether special counsel Jack Smith's appointment was lawful.
The judge set a July 22nd status conference. She will likely set a trial date after that.
Federal prosecutors have charged Trump with 40 counts for allegedly mishandling classified information. Trump has pleaded not guilty. And earlier I spoke to Paul Kamenar, he's the lead counsel at the National Legal and Policy Center, to get his thoughts on the latest testimonies in former President Trump's hush money trial. Trump's legal team had called for Judge Merchan to declare a mistrial, saying that Daniels' testimony has nothing to do with the case and is prejudicial, meaning that it's damaging to either Trump or the trial. Merchan has rejected that request. Is that the right decision?
I don't think it is, but they're preserving that issue on appeal. And I think they have good grounds that if he is convicted, they will appeal it. But the whole thing with Stormy Daniels' testimony, in fact, this whole case has, there's no law being violated. The government's theory is that this money paid to Stormy Daniels affected Trump's campaign. Well, under election law, Trump can give as much money as he wants to his campaign, either direct money or what's called in-kind contributions, whether it's computer software or phones or what have you. So all this is really based on a myth that there's something illegal going on with this payment that he made to Stormy Daniels, which he denies, but nevertheless, there's no there.
Defense attorneys are trying to undermine Daniels' credibility, and they're trying to show that she was trying to get a payment for her story, highlighting how her account of the events changed over the years. Is that an effective strategy?
Well, it is in one respect that they're trying to show that there's holes in her story, that there's conflicting statements she's made, and therefore the jury will see her as not being credible. But again, I go back to my original point that it doesn't make any difference what she says, because even if she's correct, there's still no underlying campaign law violations here. So the whole thing is, excuse the pun, it's a trumped up charges that they're bringing against Donald Trump. It's incredible.
Well, Paul Kamenar, the lead counsel at the National Legal and Policy Center. Wish we had more time, but that wraps it up for today. Thanks again for coming on the show.
A Russian court is charging American soldier Gordon Black with theft causing significant damage. The court ordered that he be held until July 2nd.
The Russian Interior Ministry in Vladivostok said yesterday a woman had filed a complaint against the soldier.
The court said the two met in South Korea. The American came to Vladivostok to visit her. They allegedly had an argument, and she later filed a police report accusing Black of stealing money. Police arrested him in a local hotel with a return plane ticket to the U.S.
The Pentagon said yesterday before his arrest, Black broke Army rules by traveling to Russia without authorization. He also did so after passing through China. The U.S. has warned citizens against all travel to Russia. 2 Ukrainian officials were arrested for allegedly planning to assassinate President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and other military officials. The prosecutor's office said yesterday the unnamed Secret Service colonels were exposed for treason. One was also charged with aiding in the preparation of a terrorist act. They allegedly helped Russia in exchange for financial compensation. One suspect reportedly received 2 drones and ammunition from Russian intelligence. It was allegedly intended to carry out an explosion. Ukraine State Security said the plot included plans to eliminate Ukraine's head of defense intelligence. The suspects face life in prison if convicted. And coming up, a new trend is all the rage now at farms across the U.S. People pay good money so they can cuddle up with a cow.
And the 2024 Olympic torch arrives in Marseille, France today. The city put on a display of fireworks and drones last night to celebrate its imminent arrival. That story coming up after a short break.
More than just beautiful dance. It's a touch of the divine. More than just legends. It's the beautiful culture and wisdom of China before communism. More than just a performance. It's an experience that awakens the soul.
Lincoln Center, NJ-PAC, State Theater, Purchase, and Stamford. Starting March 28th. Tickets at genuine.com.
Do you ever wake up and realize your life has no purpose?
Do I have a death wish? Morgan asked. Maybe I did. I thought this would be our final run ever. We had made millions and millions of dollars, but God had other plans.
Peter Lowe, the one-time drug dealer turned pastor, along with 2 others, will be executed at 12 midnight local time.
The next day, something strange happened. Someone came up to me and gave me this flyer about Jesus.
You can be in heaven, or you can be in hell. The choice is yours.
We'll walk straight out of here, pretend to be the media.
This pathetic maggot got caught trying to escape my prison. Nobody escapes my prison.
He's a changed person. He's a new man.
I found Christ in here, and he forgave me.
I found Christ too.
My name is Peter Lowe. and I will be executed in 2 hours. Why am I being executed, you ask?
Jesus is for free, and salvation is a gift. Do you believe in Jesus?
The tempting online world is encroaching on our campus. Is unplugging cables and confiscating phones the solution to protect our children? No, we just need a clean multimedia platform. Join Ganjing Campus to leverage premium channel features, professional development courses, and kindness event toolkits tailored for teachers. Build a truly positive and interactive classroom community. Foster a pure and delightful learning environment for children.
Thanks for staying with us. There is a new trend now that is all the rage. At farms across the U.S., people pay good money so they can cuddle up with a cow.
But this practice faces a new risk as the U.S. Department of Agriculture confirms bird flu in dairy herds in 9 states. Here's the story.
A popular trend across the U.S. called cow cuddling can be therapeutic, an adventure for city dwellers, or just good old-fashioned country fun. At first, the Klotz family hadn't heard of the idea. Now it's become very popular at their farm.
So my daughter Star brought us an article and said, "Mom, you need to do this." And it was an article, something in the UK. It's very popular in the UK. So I read the article and I looked at it, I said, who the heck is going to want to pay to hug a cow? She says, "Mom, try it. You never know. It might work." I said, well, all right. The cow cuddling has taken over. That has just blossomed beyond our dreams.
The popular agri-tourist attraction is helping the family pay their bills.
I'm the one that keeps the books and everything. I said, look, Dan, 75 pays for 1 round bale of hay. I said, we got to look at that way. So every person that hugs the cow pays for a bale of hay for the week.
But now there's potential trouble on the horizon. The appearance of bird flu in herds across the country creates risk for those who could come in contact with an infected. This veterinarian says while the risk of humans catching it is low, it's still a risk.
Certainly, when you're interacting with animals, people, other individuals, you should be mindful of potential infectious diseases. But this doesn't necessarily create a huge concern, in my opinion.
Experts aren't too concerned the possible spread of bird flu to humans through cows, but they admit there needs to be more research on the matter.
We're seeing what long-term effects it might have, how long the animals maintain antibodies and infections, and if they're susceptible to reinfection. There's a lot more that it's still left to be discovered, probably much more to be discovered than what we actually know right now.
But this farmer is just happy to be part of the new cow cuddling trend and hopes it will continue for a long time.
I want to be in this rocket ship, and I want to ride this magic carpet ride till it ends. And right now, I'm flying high and mighty, man. That's all I could say. This is great.
The CDC has reported only 1 human bird flu infection transmitted from a cow. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says over 28,000 farms offered agritourism or recreational services in 2022, generating more than $1 billion in revenue.
I definitely pay to hug a cow. In my mind, they're just big grass puppies.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do look pretty cuddly, but the CDC is looking into this bird flu phenomenon. They're saying that it doesn't really pose a risk to humans right now, but it could mutate, so it could kind of spread from cattle to humans.
Emphasis on right now, and let's hope it doesn't come that far, because honestly, that looks like the best thing ever. And it looks like you can get a dopamine kick out of it, so who needs social media if you can get it from cow cuddling?
Yeah, you don't want to miss out.
Yeah. All right, and we're moving on to the Olympics. The Olympic flame is arriving in Marseille, France today.
To celebrate its imminent arrival, the city put on a stunning display of fireworks and drones yesterday.
Over 800 drones formed different shapes over the city's old port. The torch was lit in Greece last month before it was officially handed to France. It left Athens aboard a ship first used in 1896 and spent 12 days at sea.
The welcoming ceremony will include a demonstration by the French Air Force acrobatic team. Up to 150,000 people are expected to attend the ceremony today, including France's president.
Wow, look at that. If that doesn't build excitement for the opening, I don't know what does.
Yeah, they really go all out with that.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
It's awesome. Well, and you know, the mayor of Marseille said that they're very proud and that this is where it all starts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost time. I think July 26th is when the opening will be. And also Paris, it's a big day. It's been 100 years, a literal century since they last hosted that. So
good for them. And you know, the Olympics are just so awesome. You know, seeing all that hard work come out on full display.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of excitement. I'm looking forward to that for sure. I don't know about you, but we are heading, for our program at least, we're coming to an end right now. We're wrapping up, but be sure to stay tuned for NTD's News Today broadcast at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That's still coming up.
Yeah, don't miss it. And for round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app.
That's right. Thank you for watching. I'm Evelyn Lee.
And I'm Kevin Hogan.
Lord Heavenly Father, I pray to you today to guide us tomorrow. Give us strength as we face death. Help us not to be afraid, as we know that we are going to be coming to your kingdom.
The shining gem of New England. This delightful seaside city of Newport is one of the most beautiful places in the state. Today, we bring you here as we meet with our friends and fellow musicians from the Hermitage Piano Trio. As a team, they have garnered multiple Grammy Award nominations with their breathtaking performances.
Oh, wow, I did not think this instrument can make that sound, right?
The pandemic made this reunion even more special.
Three of us, we like it because we feel music the same way, so...
Don't miss us on the next episode of Piano Talks.